Hello and welcome aboard to another episode of the Trendy Express podcast. We celebrate different types of pop culture across the world and pop culture icons from various generations. My name is Elijah and alongside me is Jacob, as today we are going to continue onwards in the pop culture world as we dive into one of the biggest marketing in Japanese entertainment industry, and that is Maid Cafes here at Kissa Station. So if you are wondering why don't you see our actual faces, well, that is because we are currently going under a transition here at Trendy Express Podcast. So for this episode and a few episodes maybe in the future, you're gonna see anime versions of us, which might look funny. We're not even like VTubers. We're just using this style for now, so then I could just record our voices and then do the whole post-production part. But soon when we have a new setup in a new studio, you're gonna see our faces once again, but this is the only temporarily for now. So before we dive into our episode, Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Maid Cafes?
Well, yeah, so here's just a little brief few notes. The first version to shape the style or concept of Maid Cafe was an old cafe called Line Cafe that operated in Ginza in 1924 and was considered to be the precursor to what we know as maid cafes. The first modern take on the concept was a restaurant called Cure Maid Cafe, which was opened in March 2001 and became a success for maid cafes to open in the Akihabara district. The concepts of maid cafes are very influenced by the otaku culture, anime, and manga. It often involves women dressed in many different types of maid outfits, and depending on the branding, have their own kinds of theme each day to attract different types of customers to come visit. And the whole idea is to give people a fun experience without being too uncomfortable.
Yeah, so the Maid Cafes, as you said, it's been around for like a very, very long time because it has like a big influence in the otaku culture because, you know, there's a lot of people that likes maids and there's like some weird people out there that has like a weird kind of taste for maids, if you know what I mean, because, you know, like the, like the stereotypes, that kind of thing for, especially like men in Japan. Now, not to like touch upon like very personal things, but it shouldn't be like weirded out for like the whole concept of maid cafes, right?
If the first thing you think of when you think of maids is adult like 18 plus,
Well, that's
if you
somewhat
will,
true.
if that's the first thing you think of, then you need some therapy. You need to give a head check. I don't care if you think of it, but if it's the first thing you think of, shame on you.
Yeah, but because the whole concept of maid cafes is supposed to be like fun and sometimes there's like different brandings that is only like focused on adults, but usually for maid cafes, from what I've seen actually in 2024 when I took my friend Juan to a maid cafe experience because I was like a collab with Street Treatment Cafe. Shout out to them, and a shout out to you and me who was in our previous episode. Go check that out. And also Maid Cafe Mikasa from the States because it was like a collab board kind of thing. And it seemed fun from what I've seen because it's like a similar experience to the authentic ways of an actual Maid Cafe in Japan. But it's like their own kind of twist because they gotta keep it short. There's different groups that would go in there, like set up groups in different time slots. It's just like a very, very genuinely cool experience to see.
Another thing is if you're looking for maid cafes in your area, check a lot of college campuses or any local conventions as they have a lot of pop-ups.
Yeah, and that's really the cool part about the influence for maid cafes in North America. Because it has such, maid cafe concept has such an influence from Japan that anyone could try to pull up their own maid cafes. Like for example with Sweet Treatment Cafe, as I mentioned, they would usually do a lot of pop-up events when they go to like conventions and other things, but as of now for that organization, they're temporarily not, well, like hiatus temporarily. They'll likely be back in next year or so, but you know, who knows about that?
Some anime that were influenced by maid cafes are animes like Maid Sama, which is a big influence on the MC, Akiba Maid War, and Blend S.
Yeah, Akiba Maid War, I haven't even seen that show, but it's very, very violent because I've seen I think one clip of that show, and it's not. It takes like a dark twist on maid cafes because it's like a war with different kinds of brands, and it gets pretty violent. But Kids shouldn't even be watching that kind of show.
Also, I've been to Japan a few times, but I was never really aware of maid cafes when I went to Japan. You're going to Japan in the summer. Do you plan on seeing some maid cafes in Japan?
Well, actually, yeah, I'm gonna be planning to go to like at least one Maid Cafe, and after experiencing the one at Fan Expo, I kind of want to feel, or I kind of want to try like the authentic experience of the Maid Cafe, and actually reached out to Memi, shout out to her again, on what kind of Maid Cafes are like okay to go to, because I'm gonna take my dad to the Maid Cafe. But not in a weird way, because my sister doesn't want to go, my mom doesn't want to go, so my dad is willing to go with me to experience like a family-friendly maid cafe, and I'm actually gonna go to either I think it's Maid Dreamin' or it's the At-Home Cafe, which, fun fact, it's the birthplace of the phrase "Moi Moi Q." Because if you've seen animes, especially like maid cafe animes or anime shows that has like a school setting and the classes, their own maid cafes, you're gonna hear them say "Moi Moi Q." In their culture, when they say that phrase, it's like a magic spell kind of thing because they say that and it's to make the food taste better. But that's just like an act. It's just like part of the whole culture with maid cafes. But I think that it's gonna be the time we're gonna have for today's episode. Thank you once again for joining us on another adventure here at the Trendy Express podcast. We hope that you liked this episode. If you would like to, please follow us on Instagram at trendyexpress_official. We're gonna have different kinds of clips on there and some announcement posts eventually when we get around to that. We have a YouTube channel as well, so if you want to, be sure to click the like button, click subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you'll be updated on future episodes here on the Trendy Express podcast. And don't forget to check out our YouTube music page. We're gonna have just audio versions of it eventually. For now, we're just doing video versions, or like the anime ones you're seeing right on your screen as of that now. But as I always say, stay trendy, and we'll see you next time.